It is my great pleasure to introduce the winner of the Reverend Anthony J. Lauck Award for Fine Arts and Visual Arts, to Gita Pullapilly.
First of all, I just want to thank the Notre Dame Alumni Board and the University of Notre Dame for this wonderful and incredible honor. I grew up in South Bend, Indiana, and this is home, and this is where I had always wanted to be. I always wanted to come to Notre Dame. So to be able to stand here today is really awe-inspiring. My dad's down the road in a hospice care center, and I don't think you'll ever believe the story that I'm standing here today. On the plane coming from Los Angeles here, I was actually thinking it's been 20 years since I started as a freshman at Notre Dame. And I'm so grateful that the board thought that it was important to honor the success of maybe what you guys think I accomplished. But I actually had to laugh because so much of what I have accomplished has come from failures, missteps, mistakes, and being just completely naive through the process. And so if you're okay with it, I thought maybe I'd tell my speech about all the failures in life, and I know my mom's going to be a little mortified by this, but I'm just going to air my dirty laundry. And if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. And feel free to jump in too, because after Karen's speech, I could use plenty of questions through this. So don't be shy. So when I started at Notre Dame, I had no idea what I actually really wanted to major in. And you had a wonderful synopsis, by the way, of my entire career in a very positive way. And you highlighted some major things that people probably do have questions on. And I should probably say, when I came to Notre Dame, I didn't know what my major was, but usually people have a strategy that if they're going to come to Notre Dame, they're going to try different courses, different career choices that they'd want to make here, and they find what they want to do in life. My decision was, what is the worst thing for me? What's my worst talent that I have there, my worst skill set? And I'm going to find a way to not have to try it at all at Notre Dame. And that happened to be foreign languages. I was the worst at foreign languages, so I didn't want to take any foreign language class here. So I started looking at different majors. And somehow in the global business world, finance was something you didn't need to know a foreign language for when I was here. So that is how I became a finance major. There's no rhyme or reason to it, except that was literally one of the only majors I didn't have to worry about. So I'm a finance major, and I'm not even thinking about what I'm going to do for a career. And I get to my senior year, and my sister was already working for General Mills. And they loved my sister. So the recruiting office came and they said, hey, would you want a job at General Mills? And we can give you this fancy signing bonus and all this wonderful stuff. And I said, yeah, sure. Okay, yeah, sure. What's the signing bonus? Oh, wow, like coming out of college, getting a signing bonus was a big deal. Of course, I spent that signing bonus before I realized what I actually had to do for a living. And got to my first day at the job at General Mills, and they sat me down in a cubicle, and they said, you're going to be analyzing cereal, and your cereal line is going to be Cocoa Puffs. And I sat there, and all I remember is this lady talking to me, but I was thinking in the back of my mind, like, I don't even like cereal, and I am the last person that's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So I really have no idea why I'm here. And I wanted to run out the door, and I realized I probably can't because I didn't totally embarrass my sister. So I sat there and I said, okay, I'm going to give myself 3 months to figure out what I actually want to do in life. And it is true, I really loved hearing people's stories and being a part of the campfire where you get to sit around and learn about people, and I'm a talker, obviously. So I thought, I should go to journalism school. That seems like a pretty practical thing, to learn about storytelling. And I applied to Northwestern in the graduate program and really loved it. I had so much fun going out with my team and discovering all sorts of stories in Chicago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be like an Edward Murrow. I'm going to be like taking down all the corruption in the world and making this amazing difference, and just, I'm going to be like in All the President's Men except present day. Like, that was my vision of what I was going to do. And then I got my first television job, and it was in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I still thought I could make a difference, though. I didn't get to that point where it was Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I realized that they put me on assignment to do my first live shot, and I had to go to Lambeau Field. And I was supposed to stand outside and tell people it was too dangerous to be outside because it was so cold, but they wanted me to stand outside to tell them that it was too cold to be outside. And again, that was the moment that I had that internal crisis where I was like, well, why can't I just be inside? And I knew that this was definitely not going to be the long-form storytelling that I really wanted to do. But the problem was, I 2 years ago had just quit that General Mills job, took out student loans, went to Northwestern for this graduate degree in journalism. I couldn't tell my parents I wanted to quit because my parents at this point were pretty close to wanting to kill me. So I realized the quitting part wasn't an option, so I started moving to different television stations, trying to move up the ladder, hoping that life would get better. And I got to Grand Rapids, Michigan. Woo! Woo! Go Grand Rapids! Yeah! And so I got to Grand Rapids, and you're not going to like this story. I'll be honest with you. I get there, and my photographer says, I have someone you should meet. And I said, okay, who? And he said, I worked at the ABC station, WZZM, and he said, my friend's at the Fox station. And I said, why should I meet him? And he said, because he hates local television news just about as much as you do. And I said, well, that sounds great. And so in that position, what would you do except marry that person? So I ended up marrying that guy that hated local news just as much as I did. And we did come to terms with trying to decide what we wanted to do with our lives. And we said, if we really like long-form storytelling and we want to find ways to make a difference, let's try to find a film to make and tell. Let's just tell our own story. But it's a lot harder to find a story that you want to tell and dedicate your life to. So we started looking all around Grand Rapids, and we looked around different areas. Anytime we were doing reporting, we tried to find a story. In the meantime, my husband was calling his mom every day, checking in with her, and she would be saying, oh, I'm going out to greet troops at the airport, I'm doing all this stuff. And he, for some reason, never thought to really ask what that really meant. So we started dating, and my mom never knew about it. And he decided to take me home to his home in Maine, in Bangor, Maine, in the December 2004. And we went there, and his mom said, I'll meet you at the airport because I'm greeting troops. And I kept saying, like, what's this greeting troops thing that your mom's doing? Like, is it like USO kind of stuff? And we didn't quite really understand it. And we get to the airport, and she's there, and all of a sudden, a flight of troops were going off to Iraq and Afghanistan. We're at the airport, and we saw a greeting for the first time, and we actually met these senior citizens who dedicated their lives to greeting these troops before they went off to war and when they came back. Bangor's the last stop in the U.S. before heading to Iraq and Afghanistan, and the first stop back in the U.S. on U.S. soil. And there were these profound experiences that were happening there, and I'm going to show a clip, a trailer to The Way We Get By, and then I can tell you some stories from there. So this is the trailer to The Way We Get By.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If I can have your attention in the terminal.
You have to go to Bangor, Maine. You can't believe the kind of welcome that the troops get.
And it doesn't matter what time of the day or night these flights are coming in, there are people that show up every single time.
Welcome home, heroes.
I thought we were just going to walk into an empty terminal.
None of us were expecting anything like that. None of us.
You get addicted to it. You can't give it up.
Welcome home, guys. We appreciate you.
There's cell phones in there, radios, talk all you want. Call somebody up, make them happy, ugly, or horny.
How long can they sustain this? You know, they've been doing this, and they're still there.
The
don't stop for you to get on or get off. The world just keeps right on turning.
Everybody has trials and tribulations.
2 of my grandchildren are going in January.
Every day, that's the deal. That's what we say. It's not my day.
It's not been a bad trip at all. Sun don't come up tomorrow morning, it's not a big deal.
Death is something uncontrolled by human beings. Age, how rich you are, what you're doing, doesn't enter the picture. You're gone.
I can't do this.
My life don't mean a hell of a lot to me, but if I can make it mean something for somebody else, that's my endeavor.
So, making the way we get by was a process where, again, my husband and I were both naive in this process because we thought the Persian Gulf War was not that long, so we thought making the way we get by this war was going to just be pretty short. It was going to be like a year or something. So we thought we'd start by kind of capturing these troop girders, but by the end of the year, the war would be done, and we'd get our film out there, and yay! And 5 years later, we realized, wow, that was not a short war, and it was still going on, but we knew what we learned through that process was you have to let the characters in your story play out on their journey, on their timeline. And we realized we needed to understand the story that we wanted to tell and who we wanted to be as storytellers. And we discovered through the process of making The Way We Get By, that you just have to go on the journey of making the story the way the story characters really want you to go. And you can't force your story or your timeline or any of that on anyone. The second part of it was, what story do we really want to tell? And it was really the story about finding purpose in your life and the human connections that we all make. And it wasn't a political story. This isn't about the politics of war, but it was really about what can we do to bring that human connection together. And our voice as filmmakers were also discovered during that time period because we realized it was so much about wanting people to go on a journey and to start feeling something, anything, but when you watch our films, we wanted you to feel something. Unfortunately, Hollywood didn't really want to feel it because we started pitching this film about senior citizens and troops to every studio you could find out there, and they said, there's no audience for this film. No one's going to watch this film. You're not going to get people to come to a theater to see this. You know, you should really just stop spending your money making this movie and just work on another project. You'll find another project. But Aaron and I really did truly believe that there would be an audience for The Way We Get By, and that if we just believed in our guts, really, that our audience would find us, then we'd be able to succeed. So in 2009, we self-released The Way We Get By, and during that process, we ended up going and playing in 60 theaters around the country. And then National PBS saw the film and said, I think our audience actually really would enjoy this film. So we had a national television broadcast on PBS in 2009, and it was one of the most popular documentaries aired on PBS that year. So then they rebroadcast it in 2010, and we did a whole campaign to the White House, and Aaron and I ended up getting nominated for a national Emmy. So that was the first time somebody in the industry said, hey, you guys can tell stories and you guys can be filmmakers. And it was the first time we got credit, I guess, for going with our gut. And what I think really happened during that process was it really gave us the courage to tell the stories that we wanted to tell and not have to worry about other people telling us the stories that they wanted us to tell. So after making The Way We Get By, we decided documentaries are really hard to make. Let's make something really easy. How about a narrative film? So we had never written a script in our life, but we really wanted to understand both sides of the filmmaking process, documentary and also the narrative space. So we were living in New York City at the time, and we went on Facebook and we saw these photos of blue potatoes in northern Maine, and they were gorgeous, and we thought it'd be great to set a movie there. What a great landscape. We knew nothing about the area of northern Maine. So we just decided to get up and move to northern Maine and spent 3.5 years there researching and writing and trying to find a story. And what we came up with, which was using our documentary skills, we came up with a story about the illegal drug trade, the legal prescription drug trade between Canada and Maine. And we kept asking ourselves, what do people in these rural towns that are really struggling, what are all the opportunities for them here? How do they survive in a town that's dying? And what that story became was a narrative film called Beneath the Harvest Sky, which we have a trailer for.
Everything we've been doing up to now has been to get to this one, so close.
So you and Casper would move to Boston together?
You think leaving this town is everything, right? That's the plan!
You're doing exactly what everyone in this town has expected you to do since the day you were born. You included.
You got a bright future, though. I got a bright future?
You're so much better than him.
I'm not. Okay, we're no different.
I'm pregnant.
I can take care of you.
Fantastique.
You always got a place here. You're a hell of a hard worker and you're a smart kid.
I didn't mean to be mean about your friend there. I just always hear about all the trouble he gets in all the time.
Hang out with Casper. I know something crazy's gonna happen, but at least something happened.
Put your hands on him, you put your hands on me, you understand?
The little fish in the big pond gasping for air.
You don't trust no one but me.
But you want this to go into something bigger, and you need to know the business. Okay? Okay.
I don't want you to leave.
Then you don't fly! You know what they say there? Sometimes good things have to fall apart so that better things can fall together.
This town has nothing that either of us want. Okay, we're meant to leave together. When the harvest comes, you'll find me in
So I think, one of the things that we quickly learn in making a narrative film is that it's, as directors, it's such a grueling process because you really have to focus on not only trying to figure out how to get your script and all the creative on the script onto the big screen, but how to manage entire crews and entire actors and casts and all the struggles behind trying to get everybody to work in sync. When you're making a documentary, you might be going on for 5 years, but you are just the two of you together. But when you're making a narrative film, you have to have these huge crews. All of a sudden, we were starting to realize we had to worry about budgets and scheduling and how to be efficient with your time on a shoot day. And all of a sudden, it started kind of feeling like manufacturing in a little bit. It almost started feeling like you were trying to make some kind of cereal in a weird way. I started thinking about that process a lot during production. I was reminded very frequently that this was show business, and it was all about the business. So it had me thinking that if I actually did like foreign languages, I probably wouldn't be a filmmaker today. So I am very grateful to Notre Dame for allowing me to find my way to filmmaking through business. So thank you so much.